Okay, so I've been invited to a Zoom meeting, and to get started for that, I'm going to open up the invitation to my calendar. And in the invitation, you can see the date and time of the meeting, but you also see this thing called the meeting ID. So I'm going to copy that because I'm going to need that to join the meeting. And now I'm going to open up the Zoom app that I've downloaded to my computer and click the home button. And I want to join a meeting. So I'm going to paste in the meeting ID. I'm not going to check any of these boxes because I want to connect with audio and video, and I'm going to click join. Now it's going to want the meeting password, and you can find that right underneath the meeting ID. It's 330255, so I'm going to do 330255, and I'm going to click join, and I'll wait for the host to let me in. Meanwhile, I'm going to reduce this couple screens here. While I'm waiting for the host, I can go ahead and I can check a couple things. First of all, I can see that my microphone is working. I can also check my output volume to my speakers. And if I wanted to, I could record a little sound clip and it would play it back, let me know that everything's working. But because I can see the audio line going on, I know that everything's good. So meanwhile, I'll just wait in the waiting room and I'm being admitted. So I will join with video and make this full screen. So I'm still waiting in the waiting room. Now I'm being connected. So here we are.
Here we are.
Hey, Diana.
Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm doing good. Sorry I'm a little late.
That's okay. Okay, so you've joined our meeting. I've shown them how you showed up in the waiting room, and your participants probably saw that you were waiting until I admitted you. So today we'd like to show them as many of the hosting controls as possible. So one of the things when you have a large meeting is it's really nice to have a co-host. So would you like to co-host with me for a little bit?
Does that mean I can take control?
That's what it means. It means that you can take control.
Okay, so I'm ready. I'm ready to be the co-host.
Okay. So for me to allow Doug to be a co-host, I need to go to the participants panel, which I have open here, and hover over his name and then come over here to the more. When I select that, I get a choices of several things here, and I can make him a co-host here. So there we go. So I'm making him a co-host and pressing the button. So now you should see something a little bit different on your side, Doug.
Yes, first of all, in the participants panel, you can see up here that Diana has made me a co-host. And down here, you can see the controls. I have a security control. I have a polls option. So those are new. So that means I could actually create a poll, and I could actually end the meeting if I wanted to. If Diana left, I would be got the option to end the meeting.
Right. And so if I needed to leave, then somebody else would be there to take over as the co-host. The other important thing that a co-host can do for you in a meeting is keeping people's microphones muted. We'll talk more about muting all of our participants, but that is an important role for a co-host. So now I'm going to revoke his permissions as co-host by coming over here and withdrawing the co-host permissions, so that when he's recording that you'll see what all the controls will look like as a participant.
And you can see up here in the participants panel, she's taken away the control host of a co-host. And down here in my control panel, you can see that I've lost the security and the polls option. So I no longer can do that.
Right. Okay, so now I'm going to switch a view. I'm going to switch my view so that we are now side by side. So Doug is over on my left and I'm over on the right. And now we're going to talk about some of the important controls of your microphone and your video. The mute button is over here in the lower left, and there's also other controls. There is a panel that will come up that will allow you to select headphones. You notice that Doug is wearing headphones. This is where you could select your audio controls. So now I'm going to ask Doug to mute himself so that you can see when participants are muted.
Okay, so I move over to the left. I click on the microphone.
Okay, so now Doug is muted. Noted that that over here there's a little red microphone here, and also in the participants panel there is a red microphone, and that's how you know that that their microphones have been muted. Okay, Doug, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, so now I'm back to being able to talk.
Right. Now, the other thing is if you don't want to be shown on screen and everything, you have options to either start and stop your video here. So that's the little video camera here. So Doug, can you stop your video camera?
Okay, I'm going to stop my video.
Okay, so note that when Doug stopped his video, that his name came up here on screen here. And also there is a little red camera in the participants panel. So I know that also that his video camera is turned off. Okay, Doug, why don't you come back and I'm going to stop my video so that they can see what happens when a participant actually has a profile picture. So I'm going to close the participant panel, and now I'm going to stop my video. Notice now that my profile picture shows up. Doug, briefly stop your video camera so that they can compare to see the difference. So notice his name comes up. That means no profile. My profile picture came up because I had a profile. Okay, so we're going to both start our videos back up here so that we can continue on with this. Now let's talk about recording. You can record your video sessions or your Zoom meetings, and you get a couple of different choices in the Zoom world. You can either record directly to your computer, which obviously means that you have to have enough computer hard drive space for the recording to be saved, or you can actually record it to the cloud if you have a Zoom plan. Now they give you enough space there for probably about an hour and a half of recordings, and you can download them. So you could record, download, delete it off the cloud, and that would provide more space for you. The other thing that you can do around recording is that you can actually allow other people in your meeting permission to be a recorder. So I could make Doug a recorder. He doesn't have to be a host. I can just say allow record. So Doug, what happened on your side?
Well, first of all, I'm going to check in the participants panel and see what you've done here. Nothing new there, but I have a button here that says record. So if I were to push that button, it would allow me to start recording the session.
Right. Then he'd be able, and you can have multiple people be recording on a Zoom meeting. So I'm going to now revoke his recording privileges here, and so he can no longer record. Okay.
So if I try to record, I click that button, it says please request recording permissions from the meeting host. If I had pressed it before when she had those permissions, I would have immediately started recording the meeting.
Correct. And when you know that a meeting's being recorded, because there is a little icon up here in the upper left portion of your screen that says recording. So it's kind of not too intrusive. So, and it doesn't actually get recorded in the video that Zoom puts out. Okay. So now we're going to talk about the chat feature. I'm going to click on the chat window here. And the chat window allows you several controls. There is these three little dots, and as a host, I get a choice of either no one can chat. So if you have a really large meeting and you don't want people to ask questions or anything, you can turn off the chat window. Or you can say host only. So if you have the host as well as co-hosts, people can chat to those people, but it's directly to one of them. They have to pick one. So even though it's host only, not all of the hosts will see whatever somebody chatted. Or you can just say everyone publicly or privately. I will also note that when you say host only, that the private option is still available as well. So let's look at how the chat window works. I can just say I want message to everyone, okay? And notice that it says up there, everyone, in blue. Or if I just want to chat to Doug privately, I can select Doug and say, this message is for Doug only. So, okay, so you can see in the chat window, what I can see is the everyone. I can see what I chatted, and I can see that the fact that I chatted privately. So what did you see on your side, Doug?
Well, I have the chat window open, and I saw the first message, the message to everybody, and then I saw a message to me privately which said this message is for Doug only.
Right. So that's kind of a nice way for your participants, like, without being interrupted, they can chat little messages back and forth in their little windows. If you're on like an iPad or an iPhone, you'll get the message will pop up briefly and then go away, but they're always in the chat window themselves. Okay.
And I can send a message.
Mhm.
So if I send a message, she should get a little pop-up says she's got a message from me.
Yeah,
And you can see
I have the
it
chat.
it populated in the chat window as well.
Right. So I didn't actually get a pop-up because I had the chat window open. Okay. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about some video. Kind of cool feature is this virtual background. Behind me, Doug has a virtual background. I also have a virtual background. And this is how you can choose your virtual backgrounds from the video option, choose virtual background. And I have a choice of some canned things that came from Zoom, or the background that I had here was this little den or office or whatever. If I want to add an additional one, I can do so by pressing the add image button and the little plus there and say add image. And then I have one on my desktop here that I downloaded and is available for me. So now I have a different living room. So now I have a different background.
Does Jim know you redecorated while he was at work?
No, he doesn't, but well, I never cease to amaze him. So now if I want to change it, I can just go back to choose virtual background, go back to this one, or if there's the one that I just threw in here I didn't like, I can just press the little X here and get rid of it. Okay. So that's a pretty cool feature to have virtual backgrounds. It helps eliminate some of that clutter that might be behind you when you're in a Zoom meeting. Okay, now we're going to talk about screen sharing controls. Okay, so Doug, can I ask you to share your screen?
Sure. I was just showing him how I changed the virtual background. You see that I'm skydiving right now. And you want to share my screen. So I have this button on the bottom in the control area. It says share. So I'm going to click share. And it says, I don't have permission to share screens.
Right.
That's what happens when you're not the host.
Right. Well, not only that, but this is also a security feature for those of you that are hosting. In your settings in your Zoom account on the web, this is something I think you want to set to just host only, just to prevent anybody from possibly breaking into your meeting and starting to share their screen. But you can change it here on the fly. Next to the little green share up arrow is a little up arrow where it says advanced sharing options. And now here I get an option of who can share. So now I can change it to all participants. So now, Doug, can you share your screen?
Oh, so now I click on the share screen and it has a list of my open applications or windows on my computer, and I can pick any one of them to share. So I'm going to go. I've been working in Photoshop all day, so I'm going to share my Photoshop, and it should come up, and she can see I've actually been working on some cars that we're going to put up on the MBCA website, so you can see the ones that I've been working on. Here's another one that's a really nice looking car, a gentleman from San Francisco, and here is another one. This gentleman lives over in the Carolinas. So I've done about 35 pictures so far today. I can also create a new share, and I could come back and say, I'm just going to share my calendar, and you can just see this is what my calendar looks like, all nice and colorful. I have all my appointments and everything in there. Or I can just click stop share, and it goes away, and we're back over here to our gallery view.
Great. So let's look at it from the hosting side, basically, so that you can see here. I'm going to start my screen sharing, and you can see I have some choices here. I have my desktop. So here on my desktop, I can then pick anything that I want to pick. So here is a PowerPoint presentation. I can share that. I didn't have any applications open, but if maybe when I close this here now, I can actually stop sharing, and let me share again. Let me share my screen. So now I have it detected that I have PowerPoint open, so I can just click that there, and now I'm actually in the PowerPoint application. So if I do a new share, you can see desktop, I have PowerPoint here. I'm also going to show you a really cool thing that's really nice over here in the advanced tab, and that's content from a second camera. I have a second camera set up that's connected to my computer, and I'm going to share that. So now this is on another external webcam. So here's a shot of my bookcase with some of my car collections and a couple of my bears. So that's a very useful thing if you want to set up a camera and I could be shooting at a desk or something like that, and be able to share from that perspective. There's also a little switch camera in here in the upper left-hand side, and when I do that, I'm back to my window where you can now see me. So I'm going to stop sharing now. I'm going to show you one other thing real quick about sharing, and under the basic tab is that you can also have your iPhone or your iPad. You can also connect to it via AirPlay. That's also another way that you can share another device right from Zoom. Okay, so let's see here. What else? Let's talk about polling. Polling is kind of a cool little feature where you can do an icebreaker kind of thing, or you could have polling questions set up in advance. So if I press polling, I have a little poll here that is asking Doug for what did you have for breakfast? So he can respond, and when I hit launch poll, so he will now see the poll on his screen. I will note that polls do not get recorded in the recording, but I can see it here. He's one person. I can end the poll and then share the results, and now Doug and everybody else in the meeting can see the poll results.
You know, Diana, when I was sharing my screen, there were two little things up in the right corner. Something about a whiteboard. I'm not quite certain what that does.
Oh, thank you for reminding me about the whiteboard. I'm going to go to share screen, and now here is the whiteboard. The whiteboard does have to be turned on in your settings, in your Zoom settings on the web. And when you click on that, you get a whiteboard, and now you can draw or write text or something like that. So I can scribble on here. But the other cool thing is Doug can also scribble on this whiteboard. So maybe you want to type some text or scribble on my whiteboard.
So I'm going to go ahead and I think I'll type something in, and I'll just open up a text box and I'll say, this is my turn to play.
Okay, cool. So the other cool thing about a whiteboard, we do have all these annotation tools up here at the top, is you can also have multiple pages of whiteboard. So down here in the lower right corner is a little plus sign and a square, and now I've gone to a second page. So this is my second page. And if I want to go back to the first page, I can just click the left arrow and go back to the first page. I can also clear the drawing very, very quickly just by hitting the trash bucket. And now everything, I can clear all just my drawings, or I can clear the viewer's drawings or everybody's drawing. You want to put something back there, Doug?
Oh, let me see. I'm going to, oh, I like this one because sometimes you want to highlight things.
Mm-hmm.
So I can draw an arrow right to that thing that I want to highlight.
Right. So, and you can also these annotation tools are also available when you are sharing. So if somebody's sharing a PowerPoint or something and somebody wants to draw on it, it doesn't actually physically draw on your PowerPoint document. It's just merely in the window here. So I'm going to clear this, and I'm going to clear all the drawings, and I'm going to stop sharing. Your whiteboard also, when you exit the meeting, in your settings, you can set it so that all whiteboard drawings get saved onto your hard drive when you end the meeting. So that's a real useful thing for business meetings or something, maybe where you are doing some design things that know that your whiteboards can be saved. Okay. So now I'm going to go talk about let's see here. Oh, I'm going to go back to polling. I didn't show you, stop sharing that, how you can create polls. You can set these up ahead of time, or you can create them on the fly. So if I press the edit button here, what's going to happen is my account is going to open up, and it will allow me here now to add another poll question. So, this is my new polling question. How are you? And you can type in your answers, good or bad. I'm going to scroll down here and save it. And then just close this web browser window. And then when I come back to polling here, if I hit this arrow, it'll say, this is my new poll. And here's my new poll question. Whoops, I think I must have said. Okay, here it is. How are you? So I'm going to launch the poll, and Doug can respond. Good, in poll, and we're done. Share results. So those are kind of nice for various reasons to do polling. Another feature that I'll talk about briefly is breakout rooms. Breakout rooms is something that if you have a large meeting or even a medium-sized meeting and you want people to go into their own little sub-meeting rooms, you can do that by invoking the breakout room feature. If you want to know more about that, I'd suggest that you go onto Zoom and go to their help, and it explains how that works. If you have a really large meeting and, say there's 100 people in the participants in the meeting, and you want to put them in 10 different rooms, you can actually have Zoom just randomly select which 10 participants go into which room. Another little feature is called the reactions in the reaction panel here. So that is thumbs up, thumbs down. So Doug could, as I'm talking, he could give me thumbs up or thumbs down. Okay, so he's giving me thumbs up. Okay, and then I can go into the participant panel here, and let's see, I guess you. And okay, he's clearing his little thumbs up, thumbs down. One other feature we didn't talk about was raised hands. So Doug, I would like for you to raise your hand. This is a very useful feature in a large meeting where you want people to raise their hand to be called upon. Okay, notice that here Doug has raised his hand, and where he found that control was in the lower part of his participant panel. And now I can see his raised hand here in the participant panel as well as on his video here. If you have a large meeting and when somebody raises their hand, their name will float to the top of the list of the participants, because if you've got a zillion videos on your screen, you would be more than likely not see that. Raise your hand again so I can show them how to lower your hand, Doug. Okay, so once his hand's lowered, then I can just scroll over him and I can lower his hand when I call upon him. Okay, I think we have covered the controls except for ending the meeting. So Doug,
What about if somebody logged in with a weird name and you weren't too certain about it?
well, if you weren't too certain about it, then what you can do is you can actually kick them out of the meeting. You can remove them right here. And if they're really being obnoxious, you can actually report them to Zoom. So you can, once you remove somebody from a meeting, they cannot re-enter the meeting. Zoom will prevent them from re-entering the meeting. Hey, anything else we might have missed there, Doug?
Well, I was going to change my name.
Oh, yes. So Doug can actually change his name a couple of different ways. No, there. Okay, so now he's a Zoom bomber. So you can do it in the participant panel. You can hit rename, and I can put him back to Doug Giganto. Okay, so now I've renamed him. So the host can or co-host can rename people as well. And since I'm on a computer, when I scroll over my video, I get 3 little dots up here in the right-hand corner. And you might want to do this too, Doug. That is another place where the rename option can come up. So it's a good practice, as a best practice, to have people rename themselves to who they really are. There's some nice features in Zoom for back-end reporting, and if people actually record their real names and everything, then the back-end side of you will know exactly who was in your meeting after the fact, because you might not necessarily know who iPad 3 is. For example, you wouldn't know unless you just remember by their video that was Susie. Okay, anything else that we think that we missed, Doug?
Well, I'm looking here. Really, well, you got me back as a co-host, I think.
I do.
Because I've got the polls option.
Oh, no.
Oh no, that was the question. Never mind.
That was a question. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't give you back your control.
Okay, well, I think that covers everything.
I think it does. So now to end the meeting, over here in the bottom right, though, when you say end, you get 2 choices. And I know this is a little scary if you just think you're going to leave the meeting and leave it in somebody else's hands, but you can end it and you can just leave the meeting, or you can end it for all. So I'm going to say goodbye to everybody, and I want to thank Doug for helping me record this video for you all to see. Bye.
Not a problem. See everybody.
Bye.
And as you can see, the meeting has ended, and it's telling me it's ended. I click OK. At that point, I'm just going to go ahead and close this out. And I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again sometime soon.